so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you with my 12 Days of Wisdom challenge. And today is day 3. And I'm going to be sharing with you falling in love with wisdom. And we're going to talk about the heart. Okay? The heart. We're going to focus in on the heart. Hello. So our reading today is going to be taken from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. And I'm going to read that in the King James Version. Okay, so it's, "My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. Forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments." Hello. I want to talk about the heart because my topic today is falling in love with wisdom. Hello. We fall in love with so many different things. We can fall in love with people. We can fall in love with various aspects of our life. We can fall in love with our wardrobe. And it's there's a verse in Proverbs that says, "It's from the issues of your heart that your life flows." It's from your heart that your issues flow out. And we have an affection for so many different things that we don't take the time to have an affection for wisdom, an affection for the Word of God. It has to have a place in our heart. It has to have a place in our affection. We have to fall in love with it. So excuse me if I look here because I've got all my notes with me. And I want to just share with you is that your heart is where your affections reside. You have a love for people, you have a love for things, you have a love for family, you have a love for God. Your heart is where everything that's really important to you, all those external things that are important to you, there is a connection, there is like a tie to those external things into your heart. And sometimes we have to have a look at our heart. Do we have an affection for things that are not good? Do we have an affection for things that are not profitable? Do we have an affection for things that maybe are not profitable to other people? Because when we look about in history, because I'm a history person, we can see what various people had in their heart. We know what Hitler had in his heart. Okay, we know what, let's see, we know also there is a collective heart. Different countries have a collective heart, have a collective understanding about the society that we live in. And some countries will endorse certain things, and that is the collective heart. That is the collective affection on a particular subject. So we have to be careful that as we're living in different countries, like for example, I live in England, you know, my collective heart, my heart, you know, does it connect with some of the collective ideals of the country that I'm living in? And if those ideals are not God inspired or have a weight of integrity, we have to look at our own personal heart and make sure that we're not connected to those things. Okay, so we have to allow the Word of God to have a place of affection in our lives, because later on this week I'm going to be talking about the importance of how wisdom can help us to live a life of integrity. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So we have to really watch our hearts in 2018 with what and whom we fall in love with. What things are attracted to our heart. We have to make sure that we keep our hearts in a particular place and in a particular position that will attract the good to us. Okay, because our hearts is like a magnet. We always have to keep examining my heart. Lord, am I thinking the wrong thing about somebody? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? We have to keep examining that, because eventually what is in the heart will overflow and spill out into everyday life. If your heart has been broken in the past, that's what's going to spill out. If you've been rejected in the past, that's what's going to spill out. So we have to make sure that we get good knowledge, good understanding, get the word of God in our hearts so that it will spill out into our everyday life, and it will help us to make the right decisions. Okay, now I just want to draw your attention to the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, you had the Ark of the Covenant. You had the Ark that the children of Israel carried around. And in that Ark was the tablet where the commandments of God was written on. And those tablets were placed inside the Ark. The word was in the Ark. And they had to handle that Ark very carefully, very well. And that Ark is also a parallel to our heart. How are you handling your heart? Are you allowing people to batter it? Are you allowing people to do what they want with your heart? We have to guard our heart. The Bible tells us to guard our heart because out of it flows the issues of life. We have to be careful who we give our heart access to in 2018. Don't forget, this is called 12 Days to Wisdom in 2018. And in 2018, who are you going to release your heart to? Are you going to live by the word of God? Are you going to live by the Bible? Are you going to develop a life of integrity so that as you go into 2018, you will be able to walk in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding? Who are you going to release your heart to in 2018? So that's my challenge to you today. Be careful who you give your heart to. Okay, our heart is sacred. We have to protect our heart just like that ark was protected. Not anybody could come and touch the ark. In fact, I think it was it Uzzah who tried to help the ark as the ark was going to fall off. I think it was a wagon or something. And he tried to help the ark to, so it wouldn't fall on the ground. Who are we going to allow to help us to keep our heart? Uzzah in the Bible was struck dead for trying to touch the ark. We have to be careful who we select into our hearts. Okay, so our heart is a very precious thing. It's very careful, because if you see somebody murder somebody, okay, in the news you have all these horror stories. That act originated in the heart. Okay, in their heart was murder, and it multiplied, and it increased, and it grew and grew and grew. So when you see a murder, when you see all these atrocities that are out in the news, you read them in the papers, you've got on your tablet or your iPhone, those things didn't just happen like that. They were already rooted in the person's heart. And we have to allow space in our heart for the right thing. So today I'm talking about falling in love with the wisdom of God, falling in love with wisdom, falling in love with knowledge. Because when we fall in love with wisdom and knowledge and understanding, it will help us to grow, and we can share that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding with other people. And that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding will help us to make the world a better place. Maybe not the whole world of 6 to 8 billion people, but our immediate world, the immediate people that we see every day, the immediate people in our family. The knowledge, the falling in love with the word of God can help us to help the people around us. So my challenge to you today is, what are the things that you're going to have to remove from your heart in order to have enough space to fall in love with the right things? If you've got bitterness in your heart, you need to remove that to create space. If you've got anger which is not profitable in your heart, you need to remove that in order to create the right space. If you've got jealousy in your heart or resentment, you need to remove that to create enough space to have the right things in your heart. Okay, so that's my challenge to you from Proverbs chapter 3 verse 1, focusing on the heart. Okay, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. Let's create enough room in our heart to keep the commandments of God, to keep the wisdom that we need to live a profitable life. Okay, in 2018. So in 2018, because I'm doing the 12 days of wisdom for 2018. In 2018, make sure that you keep your heart in such a place that you attract the right things into your life. Okay, so God bless. Thank you for joining me. So I will see you tomorrow for day 4. Okay, this was day 3 and tomorrow is going to be day 4. So thank you for joining me. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. See you.